I'm not grappling with notions of identity and representation in my art. I'm grappling with the safety and futurity myself. I want to start with this quote because those that know me know that I'm both inspired by Black and racialized radical intersectional feminists, while at the same time potentially disappointing them with my shortcomings. But today, I want to use these quotes as a springboard, one that would hopefully encourage you to think of the idea of a first aid kit. A first aid kit, or survival kit as the Brown siblings refer to it, is used in different ways to help us think of how to prepare an imaginary future. One that will disappoint some and disenfranchise others. While many of you know of first aid kits in the medical sense, try here to think about it as both a physical and non-physical entity. One that can be filled with your teddy bears, unicorns, ideas, dreams, and so on. One that would hopefully allow for you to care for yourself and others in your proximity. One that increases the possibility of greater safety while decreasing the level of harm you might do to others. While it can have an element of utopic potential, it is not about excluding others and anxieties. Trying to come up with one is understanding my version will be incomplete. But as I write this in the chair of a hairdresser at the end of Chaussée de Wavre in the Brussels Matonge, I am reminded of my privileges. The hairdresser, a dark-skinned femme presenting Black Senegalese, will most likely add different things to her kit. As a dark-skinned, male-presenting person living in West Europe, I think often of how to make my existence in service to others, especially those whose lives emulate that of my birth mother, a bigger than average dark-skinned femme-presenting individual who comes from the Deep South in Texas, but spent most of her adult life in Southern California, often in and out of Los Angeles County, especially the years she spent as a crack-addicted caretaker in the America that former President Ronald Reagan helped birth. One that seemed to find ways to care less about Black women, presenting individuals. With all this in mind, trying to think of what my first aid kit will contain has to depart less from myself and more from them. In order to be a better co-conspirator and maybe an accomplice in abolishing the things that get in the way of them living more joyful existence, more practically, my first aid kit will include books like Becoming Human by Zachariah Iman Jackson, books and short stories by Octavia Butler, especially Wild Seed and the short story Bloodchild, Racial Capitalism by Cedric Robinson, short stories by Amaata Ayodo, Aphorisms by Afko and Silko, works by members of the Combahee River Collective, books by Ruth Wilson Gilmore, books by Bell Hooks, music, Erykah Badu's New America Part 1, Natalie Merchant's Ophelia, No Name's Telephone, Susana Baca's Lamento Negro, Mick Jenkins' Water, Nina Simone's Black Gold, especially Young, Gifted, and Black, Solange's A Seat at the Table, podcasts such as Finding Our Way series hosted by Prentice Hemphill, especially the one with Alexis Pauline Gums, How to Survive the End of the World, especially the one with the Davis siblings, Being Seen, especially the one focusing on trans-masculine experience, Dipsaus podcast, the Jacobian podcast. Besides that, a lot of literal seeds, including blueberry and bell pepper seeds. So what would your first aid kit include as you step out into a world that is even more complex than ever? One where Beyonce empowers all of us to appropriate, monetize, and capitalize on queer culture as we sashay and do drops all the way to influential banks. While many who helped breathe life into those cultures are still not able to keep themselves safe or care for their own basic needs. Not to mention the extra layers of the environmental crisis that individuals like Honduran environmentalist Bertha Cáceres and little black girls with asthma in places like London still have to die for, while we create social media posts that help greenwash our lives in small ways. Some of you might willingly or unwillingly have the skills and hopefully critical tools set you have sharpened here to help greenwash the money of multinational companies like Tesla, Nestle, and many others. But hey, get that paper, make that bread. I ain't trying to knock nobody's hustle, but while you do it, please do consider the impact it's having on the environment around you. Not just the physical environment, but the individuals you might or might not pass daily as you go about your future lives. Those that some might consider the wretched of the earth or simply marginalized. Some of you might come from these quote-unquote environments, but still, as many of you leave this place, I hope you will consider what to include in your first aid kits, and even more so, how I hope you will be able to broaden what you include in these first aid kits so that they will be in service of other beings, both human, non-human beings, and things. In other words, use your privilege to be co-conspirators in ways that will improve our collective conditions, especially of those impacted by the results of our privileges, those we consider marginalized. Art is not going to save the world, and it was never meant to. Neither was it meant to fulfill capitalist wet dreams as some Jeff Koons and co. instrumentalize it to do. What it can do is potentially unlock the inner visions toward new understandings. Leah Lakshmi Pipsna Samarasinha reminds us that, quote, as a cultural worker, it's important for me to act from a place where you can consciously reject the machine's desire to make money by elevating you as the one special one. I want to be part of a big multiverse of stars who reflect each other, unquote. While your optimism will not save you, it can sustain a relative persistence. On the other hand, some of your anger might be exhausting, but it can be the fire that sparks radical change. I hope you all will find constellations, or at the least collectivity, that does not always require you to be North Stars, but can form into shapes that can act as guiding lights through our communal dark moments.